All right, we live, man.
All right.
Live. Finally, yeah, I knew it was. I knew it was some kind of like setting. Something.
Something simple.
Yeah, but because as soon as I opened it up on the on the tablet, it was yeah, I could hear.
Oh, okay.
So I said, I don't know why that was. Especially given that I did a thing last night. All right. So,
How many people did you have that was watching us figure it out?
Yeah, it was a lot. I had a number of people watching. I mean, I was streaming on multiple platforms. I probably had a handful of people on maybe 4 or 5 people on YouTube, and then like a handful of people on Facebook, and then I had a lot of people on Instagram. But the thing about Instagram, I think I'm about to hit Instagram now. Thing about Instagram is that you can't see my screen.
Yeah, you must have been streaming from your tablet.
No, I was streaming from my phone.
Oh, so they were just gonna see.
Yeah,
you.
they just see me. That's it. It's
Right.
like All right. Well, we got like 4 viewers right now, so I guess we can get into it. First, well, let's talk. I want you to say like what, just overall what we're doing. Give us a general send off. What's the objective of our conversation or objectives?
Well, I guess initially, really, this is from what I can tell, this is basically like I'm taking this as a study group, where you're kind of the leader in this aspect. We're both. I'm really, yeah, you're definitely the teacher in this respect because I have no clue about this. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about like that.
Okay.
But it's an exploration of sidereal astrology and understanding on how to use, from what I'm looking at in the book so far, like the understanding how to use this astrology not in contrast to, but with Western astrology, because so that's essentially what it is, a breakdown and of how to understand sidereal astrology and seeing the benefits of its predictive nature, I guess, because this is more of a predictive science versus like psychological behavioral science, like the West.
Right. Exactly.
Brother, did you ever see that video of the little Indian kid that predicted the whole COVID mess back in June of 2019?
No, I didn't.
No. That was the craziest video, brother. This little Indian kid was like, yeah, the United States is about to go through some real mess in 2020. He just predicted it's going to be he said there was going to be World War III, but I think it must have been Mars or something. I don't know what he did, but he predicted the mess out of this. It's on YouTube. Just look up little Indian boy predicts 2020. Well, I didn't know how he did that, but reading the book, at least that first chapter, the first parts of the first chapter, I'm seeing it laid it out like how he's able to predict and start stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's what this is about: understanding sidereal astrology and how to use it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we touched on that last time where we had talked about the predictive. When you go to what's that feedback?
That's my computer. It's like I said, it's old, so the sound. That's why I thought it was my sound system. It's like
used to it. Okay.
It's like breaking down. You hear like a crunch static almost.
Right.
Yes, that's just the sound system breaking down in this computer.
Okay. Yeah. So when you get a from what I've heard, you get a reading from you know, like you get a Western astrology reading here, and again, it's all focused on personality. You know, it's like, what do I like? What do I dislike? You know, and again, it's always, well, I mean, regardless of who you go to, it's like, or what style, it's like, you know, you want to know about finance and romance. You know,
Yeah.
you know, given that I'm a, you know, a health person, I definitely will see, and there's an aspect of, you know, medical astrology, or I will say health astrology. I mean, you can definitely look at the health of a or the constitution of a person's body, and of course their spirit, because you're looking at, you know, you're looking at it spiritually, you're looking at it, and then you're looking at it physically, based on the planetary alignment when you take your first breath. But as you were saying, to your point, you know, or as I was saying, you know, from what I've heard and read about, you know, when you go to India, get a, you know, astrology, they're not concerned with your personality. It's more about what's going to happen. And I think, you know, you can pretty much say that around the world. You know, when you meet highly spiritually involved mystics who are very in tune, very sensitive. You know, you know, I talk about in health all the time, raising there's even a chapter in my book, I call it raising your sensitivity. When you raise your sensitivity in health, you actually become more prone to sickness in the regard, like, let's say, for example, you know, the person that smokes a pack a day for 20 years, they have desensitized themselves. They're not healthier than the person who's never smoked. You know, where, let's say, somebody who's never smoked and tries to smoke a cigarette, you know, again, they would be coughing violently.
Right.
You know, or you eat something, you know, like, let's say you're used to eating, you know, very strong, heavy, toxic foods, but, you know, nothing really ever happens. And then that person says, I always say, like, when people say, "Oh, I never get sick," that is not necessarily a good thing.
Mm.
So, you know, we talk about, you know, raising your sensitivity. It's like your body should have detox moments where now you're able to, you know, be sensitive. It's all about your sensitivity.
So
And
you're saying like it should have moments where it's getting rid of any toxins.
right, because I mean, you know, we're surrounded by a lot of toxicity all the time, and you know, nothing has really changed. And matter of fact, it's just getting worse. You know, I mean, and the thing is like, I mean, well, I was about to go into the whole Corona COVID stuff, but I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna just say that.
Yo, you gotta rep. Apparently, you've been going hardcore on that COVID joint. I'm not hip, brother. You got a rep for that joint already. I was telling somebody, I was talking to my brother. I was like, yeah, me and brother Kepper are getting on and talking about astrology. He said, yeah, man, he's all over Facebook going hard on COVID. So apparently, you going hardcore on that joint.
It was like, yeah, it was some serious, especially Facebook. I mean, Instagram too, you know, but Facebook, because, you know, on Facebook you tend to have an older crowd, and you tend to have people who are at their computers. Instagram is probably more phone, so you're not going to really be going. You know, people do engage on their phones, but not so much like as on their computers.
Right.
When they're on their computers, you got an older, you know, who are looking to engage with people, you know, and so it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of really intelligent dialogue. You know, people I've known for years, but you know, it's like this was the year of the great reveal. You know, to see where our level of sensitivity is at, because I was calling this a hoax I was calling it a hoax back in February
Right.
because and the reason and not even knowing anything about it, like not like you know back then. I mean, I had made a video while I was in Jamaica. This was back in February, and you know we all saw the videos of people falling out in the street, you know, in China, and I wasn't buying it. I'm like, there's something this year
Funny about it.
funny about this. And it went from that to NBA players saying, "Oh, I'm testing positive for COVID." Like, come on, man. Like, really? Like, like, you expect me to drink that Kool-Aid? Like, come on, man. And then they were saying, like, "Oh, well, I feel fine. I could play." And they're like, and then it was like, "Oh, we're gonna cancel the NBA season." So,
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
I mean, it just happened like too fast. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Well, the first thing that made me suspicious of it is how fast the world governments responded. You know, it's like, okay, this was clearly not an accident because everybody's responding way too quick. You know,
Well,
like you all.
but and then the main thing, you know, there was no talk of a vaccine back then. And you know, I remember, man, I put out I put out both my videos, Coronavirus Hoax Part 1, Part 2. And I don't even know if I could say that. You know, they have algorithms that are, you know, hearing what I say, you
They'll
know,
definitely catch it.
it's crazy. It's crazy the surveillance that we're under nowadays. Um, and I mean, I put it out over my email, you know, because I had posted on YouTube, and you know, I mean, I guess the feedback was, you know, but once I sent out that email, you know, to you know a good 10, 11,000 of my email subscribers, I mean, I probably got at least 100 emails talking about how irresponsible.
Ah, yeah.
and and then even where I was working at the time, I was threatened that because you know not having my own place, it was like it was a threat where you know again it was just it's just so much fear.
Fear.
And because I you know I know the playbook. I've been hip to the government's game for over 20 years. And you know, once I really became hip to like some of their agendas, you know, I mean, this is when I was still in school. You know, I was at Howard at the time, you know, in grad school, and really, you know, like basically with 9/11, and you know, it was a certain level, it was an awakening because I mean, like you just don't kill thousands of people just like that.
Right.
You know, and I mean, you see the World Trade Center. It was a controlled demolition. Like there's no plane that can ram in there and then just melt like so many floors of steel.
It doesn't. Yeah, it made no sense.
Down like boom, 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 boom. Like I mean, again, in the same basic blatant like just you know what they and then you know who's buying that like you know some men in caves and all that. So it was a difficult time. It was a tough pill. You know that red pill blue pill was real for me at that time because I wasn't buying the official story, but there was nothing to fill this place in the beginning. And then when I just really just started searching, it wasn't even what I was searching for. It was when something else was presented. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And then when I really started going down the rabbit hole, again, over years ago, I'm like, okay, what do I do with my life? I'm like, you know, I'm thinking about like what job, you know, trying to get a job and this, and you know, finish up my degree and
Right.
desirable for you know employers and you know try to make money and try to live you know live my life and it was like man you got some really evil people at the top of this pyramid that don't want to see, these people who just the devil, just clear as day. And I mean, I guess this is all pertinent because I think for about a year, I mean, I started reading books about everything, but I was going deep into like aliens and all kinds of like, again, just far out different stuff because I started to accept the reality that who and what is controlling us is not human. It's not human. And these
So you're a belief that are you in a so okay, that's different, brother. Now we're in a different
yeah, like I said, when you start going deep, it's like, okay, these folks that's at the top, at the tippy top, are not human. They're not human. I mean, we look at the mass genocide over history. It's like this is not the work of human beings, warm-blooded human beings. These are the work of cold-blooded something else. So obviously, I mean, but see, we in the time right now. I mean, I mean, this is where my mind was again 2 decades ago.
Okay.
And so, it wasn't a lot of people to talk to. I would mention it here, just to kind of test the water to see if somebody would be, open to that kind of conversation. So, and I'm gonna share this with you because, it really, when you start to accept and reason on that level where, the world is not what they paint it to be. In terms of like when just like the movie The Matrix, you go in and it's like, I mean, we're literally, we're literally programmed to it's like the Wizard of Oz, Disney World, Hollywood, it's that's the culture. It's Hollywood, right? And whether it's movies, sports, it's all about feeding those illusions, right? And those, they become beliefs, and they shape how we begin to view things and think about things. And then they give you the reality in movies. Like I say CNN is the real Hollywood, and Hollywood is the real CNN. So when we look at Hollywood, like critically and objectively, especially when we look at like science fiction, like I think they just making these things up like out of somebody's imagination. I mean, I think that may be true to a certain extent, but I'm saying all that to say, when you start, you take in these beliefs, you understand, like, look, I mean, what type of being would go ahead and wipe out thousands of people, in just a whim? And in terms of being a young man at the time and trying to figure out, okay, what's next for me? Ultimately, I came across a document that was written by somebody that was not from Earth, and I don't know who, what it was, but it was something that was written, and I'm mentioning that because it talked about leadership.
Okay.
That as a human being, the most important thing you can do, and I felt like, the document was definitely speaking to me, because it really like brought me back to earth, because it said, I felt like, okay, it's just up for me to, live my life as a leader. It just spoke to me, and ever since then, I've allowed, I started doing things like setting my values, my virtues, things that, you make up mission statements and things like that. And you want all of these things aligned. So one of the big things for me was like, I need to, live my life as an inspiration. I need to help to inspire people.
Mm.
And then from there it was like I started, it was like I was going down and down and deep into the rabbit hole. And then, after I read that, it just kind of just like brought me back, and I started really just, you know, on this current path that I'm on, with raw food and detoxification, and, just showing people that, because, you know, turning into going into raw foods when I did, I mean, here in DC, I didn't know like one person that was doing this, and especially like I think for the first year, it was really just me, and after a year, I was like, okay, I got to start meeting some people. I got to
Mhm.
start socializing.
What was that first year like?
Well, it was a year of solitude. Um,
Okay.
it was a year of solitude, and it was a good solitude. Like, yeah, it wasn't a lot of socialization. I mean, you got to think, just to kind of help you, just to kind of paint a picture. I'm coming from Howard University. I was pretty active and social on campus, and
So you had your fill of social, basically.
yeah, I had my network, I had my friends. I dated. I did all those things. I was involved with different, not too many organizations. I mean, my studies were like, very intense, being engineering major. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time, but I made it work. I had a nice balance. I graduated, with high honors, and was able to have a very fulfilling experience there. But at the same time, I said, well, because when I went raw, I was still there, and I had my
You went raw at Howard?
yeah, I was a grad student. So
Oh,
when you're a grad student, it's very, very different than being undergrad.
right.
So as a grad student, I had an office. So I had my juicer in my office because I was doing a lot of fasting, and I was doing a lot of meditation. I was doing a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading a lot of books on self-awareness, knowledge of self. I was reading, just self-development books, and I think all at the same time I was getting into, the stock market. I was definitely on my health journey. I mean, all the things that I'm, talking about now, but, and then I became really, really, my sensitivity was off the chain. I remember I went to see a movie after a year of meditation, and I was meditating at least an hour every day.
Yep.
So it was beautiful. I mean, that was good for that time. I don't know if I could like live that way, like
Again,
well, I wouldn't say again, but like long term,
I
like
know. I
like
get it. I get it, brother. When I don't know if you remember when you first started seeing me come around, you
hmm
were working at Sinbad, but I was basically living that life while I went to Howard, in isolation by choice, because I was an older student as well, and I meditated an hour every day plus.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. So
So,
you
and I
know,
definitely understand the sensitivity part.
yeah,
Because
because
while I was at Howard, I couldn't resist totally. So I did holler at his sister, but I immediately felt the difference, because I immediately felt energy that wasn't mine, because being by yourself for so long, you become used to your energetic mode, you become used to the energies that are flowing through you. And so then when something changes and there's a difference,
mm,
when your pattern changes, you notice, and then you can really see what did you add on to your life that changed that pattern of energy that you're used to? And then, so yeah, I understand what you're talking about completely.
Yes, yes. So that sensitivity was very, very high. For whatever reason, I decided to go to a movie, and after like a year not doing anything social, and I went to a movie at the movie theater. The movie I went to see was Training Day.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was so shook. I was shook to my core. I mean, it really, like, I mean, what a movie was like, all right, you're getting entertained. I was like traumatized. It was a real experience. But I mean, I'm glad I went, because had I not went, I wouldn't have known how, when you go down a journey, a path of meditation and a lot of fasting. I was fasting like crazy. Um, I was just doing all these things and really my job was to create good comfort for my life. I was really, before I started all that, I just had some difficult situations happen to me, and I feel like I was the cause. I feel like I just wasn't on the right path, and I had gotten a wake up call, and my first thought was go raw. After, experimenting with vegan and vegetarianism and raw back and forth for about really almost 10 years, it was like, it's time to go raw. I was doing a lot of fasting, and then I got into the meditation and all that. So raising your sensitivity, especially in these times. I was speaking to someone today, and we talked about like we talk. I mean, it's the food is one thing. Food, strong food, strong drink, especially during these holiday times, especially right now. We're in the midst of the solstice, and our sensitivity, our subconscious sensitivity is at its height during this time. So it's very extremely powerful to fast, meditate right now.
Right.
Meditate on the objective going into 2021. But as we look at the solar energy moving, and especially by the 24th, 25th, we see the movement back, back, back up.
Right.
And that sun energy. That's our ego. That's our will. That's our soul. And then it's also our vitality, our physical vitality.
Meditation at this time of year is really easy to go into trance and then to enter into the subconscious states. So like when my wife and I, we've been on your fast. We started breaking our diet leading up to the juice fast that we're doing currently. But since I've been sitting down and meditate, it's like I go into trance automatically, and I'm taken to this space of visualization, where I'm either reliving situations of the past or viewing whatever's inside the subconscious mind. It usually takes me a long period of time to get into those states, but during the winter solstice, when the subconscious mind is more receptive to suggestion, yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So, this is the time of sensitivity right now.
Yep.
We really need to, we really miss out. We really do a lot of harm to ourselves when, it's one thing to, get together with family, but, if we start engaging and indulging in sports entertainment, strong food, strong drink, being, I guess, quote unquote, merry, with the holiday season, I mean, we're really setting ourselves up for failure on so many levels. Being merry, I mean, we can be merry in a different way, in a way that we again raise our sensitivity.
Yeah.
So be more restful, eat less, drink more, and just be quiet. This is quiet time right now,
Yep.
and you know, going into going into you know, in terms of the astrology, which is what we really, you know, dealing with on this conversation, is you know, astrology just helps you to become more intuitive. You know, it's like a I mean, anybody who does oracle readings, for example, you know, the readings are to no, go upstairs, go upstairs. The readings are to help you to, you know, just tap into, you know, that inner awareness, that inner guide, that inner voice. And as we begin to become more sensitive, you know, as we become more sensitive, we start to have more frequencies. You know, it's just like the radio dial, right? And it has all these numbers of frequencies, and you become more sensitive, and you're adding frequency channels. You're adding more channels.
Yep.
So, you know, you're not dealing with 13 channels. You're dealing with a full, you know, Xfinity Verizon package.
Right. The whole spectrum.
Channels, right?
Yep.
So this is all what and, you know, I mean, we know people who are blessed to have these talents naturally, but all of us can, you know, tap into that, you know, with proper diet, fasting, periodic scientific fasting is what I call it, or rhythmic scientific fasting. That's actually what I call it, and then meditation. And then, you know, learning these ancient sciences like astrology, you know, because, and then, like I said, we're dealing with the real astrology, you know, the ancient Hindu sidereal astrology being the real astrology. Not that the Western is fake, because the Western is based on the seasons.
Yeah, it's based on the spring equinox.
Well, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
You know, because the spring equinox in the southern hemisphere is in September.
Right.
And so it's dealing with, and again, this was set by the Greeks. So, you know, those of you practicing or following the Western astrology, you're following a Greek astrology. I also affectionately call it like a white supremacy astrology. You know, because again, it's like basically saying like the northern hemisphere is you know, that's the whole world. As if we don't have an equator, we don't have like a southern hemisphere where the seasons flip. So if we have an astrology that is based on Aries, you know, the sun going into Aries March 21st, just because it's spring, not because of anything else. Because when we look at the constellation. If an astronomer looked at the sun on March 21st, he or she will see that the sun is still in Pisces, not in Aries. Okay, and then, you know, below, but if we say, you know, let's just entertain the idea that, okay, yes, the sun does go into Aries March 21st, then the sun should be going into Libra at the same time below the equator, because below the equator they're going into fall season.
Right.
But we know that doesn't make any sense. You know, that doesn't make any sense. So it was the Greeks who took the ancient Vedic astrology, the Hindu sidereal astrology, where they were actually looking at the star systems. You know, we didn't have all these lights, we didn't have all this stimulation. Like back in, you know, it once upon a time, you know, we studied the stars. You know, we seen the rhythmic patterns in the constellation, in the different planetary energies that help, you know, that are living entities. These are living entities in our solar system. So to say that there's no life, you know, beyond human beings, going back to the alien thing, I mean, to me, that's illogical. You know,
that's a Earth-centered philosophy.
right?
You know, that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense in general. I mean, with the vastness of space, you know, with the multitude of planets out there, like it's arrogance. It's straight up arrogance.
Yeah, so we really want to get into like, you know, just kind of like learning just some basics. And, you know, because one of the things, I know you wanted to ask me about a different chart, but, you know, I think you know, we gotta remain basic with it, at least for right now, you
I'm
know.
good with that, brother. Like you have, I'm sure you have more experience with how to have these conversations with people than I do, which is good because I need to learn because you know I wrote the book and I created the Oracle system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a problem with going straight into what's being said and expecting people to know what I'm talking about versus breaking things up as I speak.
Yeah, man. We gotta crawl. We not even crawl before we can walk. You know, we
And
gotta take it. We
I
gotta.
made that mistake. I learned that I make that mistake because I assume people know. Like there's nothing special about what I know. It's like common knowledge, right? So
Mhm.
a couple of last year I was giving a lecture in Seattle about my book. And then I ended up mentioning the tree of life, right? You know, Shechem or Shechem's tree of life.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you all know about the
Book. What's the name of the book?
cosmocentric mystic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, how can people find it?
Right now, you can go to Amazon. You can buy the book on Amazon. The Oracle deck right now isn't for sale.
Okay.
Um,
So there's a complimentary oracle that goes with the book.
yeah.
You
So in the
gotta break that down. See, that's what I'm saying.
right, yeah, in the back of the beginning part of the book, I teach. Well, see, I have a very similar experience to you, but different because I promote. You know, I gained all of my experiences when I went to the monastery in Arkansas, right?
Mm.
And then I had a lot of deep experience through deep meditation. You know, at the monastery, I would meditate 5 hours a day. It's like a basic 3 hour a day schedule, right?
Mhm.
But I was like, man, I'm like here. It's the first time I went, I'm like, man, I'm here. I'm about to just push this to the limit, right? So I would sit. Actually, I might have meditated like 5 or 6 hours a day. Um, but eventually, you know, what ended up happening was I began to eliminate some of those inimical energies that are part of the system and a part of the soul. And as I did that, as I eliminated those baser energies, I began to experience other realities, so to speak. You know, and so I began to have esoteric metaphysical experiences, you know, in my meditations. So, like, I have a friend in Seattle. I just told him about you. Guess what his name is?
Okay.
Guess.
Yes, Kepler.
Yeah, that's his name, basically.
Okay.
He's like one of my best friends, and yeah, I got a book Osimi. It's called Cosmocentric Mystic. Yeah, and now Kepra, this brother is he's you know it comes esoteric metaphysical reality just comes natural to him. Like he's a Babalao right now. You know, he's been
Oh,
initiated. Yeah, he's been all over. He's been initiated, and he's a high priest out there in Seattle currently.
okay.
But whereas he would have these natural metaphysical experiences that just didn't come from me. I didn't have my first metaphysical experience, not true metaphysical experience, until I went to meditate for 10 days at Vipassana, right? And then after like 40 hours, it's Vipassana is meditation for 12 hours a day for 10 days, right? And so you learn all of the
And, you know, I mean, again, once you start to really study the astrology, I just want to mention this to people
oh,
who
yeah, I could go on, brother.
serious 12th house.
Oh, yeah, what we were saying, yeah.
But
But
go ahead.
yeah. So
Add
that
it
was
in.
the first time I really discovered the technique of leaving the body in meditation. Like, you know, I learned how still you have to be, and there's this feeling that you get, like the doorway or the path, the portal opens in which you can leave, right? And so I learned how to do that kind of consistently at Vipassana. And then when I was at the monastery, I also had a deeper experience.
Mm.
Anyway, I've learned a lot, and then actually the book. Initially, I had a different system that came to me. This things come. Let me just say that. I'm not going to say a whole bunch of stuff because there's a lot. But as you deeply meditate, things come to you because you begin to open your mind up to different possibilities in reality. But this is what I realized. Like whatever it is that we perceive, whatever it is that we give our attention to the most, because we gain more knowledge about it. You know, our understanding of it becomes deeper. If you look at a door long enough, you're going to understand all of the cracks that are in the door. You're going to understand all of the nuances of the door, right? So, but that's if you project your perception outwardly. If you take that same perception and project it inwardly, then energy begins to go inward. And the deeper you go, the stiller you become. The more you pay, the less you pay attention to the needs and the desires of the body. Like in meditation, when you want to move around or you get kind of sore or whatever, if you ignore those feelings long enough, your mind just goes. And as that occurs, then you begin, and then as that occurs more and more, as you engage in that meditative state and that trance-like state more and more, you bring this essence, the divine essence that's within, that's kind of buried underneath all of these layers of the self, to the foreground. And so more and more the divine essence becomes a part of your life or guides your life for you as you go through this flow. That's what I call it. That's the beginning part of the book. You know, and then that's the meditation. I teach sound healing. Then the second part of the book requires you to have a base understanding of what Shechem's version of the tree of life. You know, at least, you know, the 11 spheres and the words of power. And then on top of that, I've combined that with the geomancy figures, the geomantic system. And then so you have to have an understanding of the 16 figures in geomancy, which is related to the Ifa system in Africa, which is if you study geomancy in general, like you open yourself up to a world of other geomancers. Like when I was giving that lecture in Seattle, I knew everybody there. Like me and my brother, we did a reading, right? He did a reading in Ifa, and there's a figure in Ifa that's called ED, right? In Ifa, it represents reincarnation. It represents the mother. It represents the feminine principle, right? But in geomancy, it represents limitations. But I also see that as representing karma, representing contracts, representing time, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when I gave the lecture, and it also means hardships, you know, in the geomantic system. Mm-hmm. When I gave the lecture, you know, that's the reading that came up, essentially that figure. And I was like, wow, what's going on with that? And so in Ifa, the Ifa reading stated that there's a strong feminine influence on this situation, right? Then the geomantic reading said that there's going to be problems that you're going to face. It may not go as you want. You're going to have a hard time. So when I consider myself kind of like a son of Seattle, right? Like a lot of people out here, you know, it's a little bit different, but like I have a big, you know, community that's really, I love Seattle to death. It's a beautiful community out there and I'm known out there, right? So I expected, you know, people to come and see me. It was like 10 people. I was like, what? I was like, well, you know, no, it was not even 10. I think it was 8. But it was the brothers and sisters. It was a close family. And it was like, you know, I love these brothers and sisters that are here. I gave them my best, right? In the back of the room, so there was 6 people I knew, 2 people I didn't, right? But they just kept mugging me. Like I felt like I was like, am I saying something wrong here? Like I don't know these people. Mm. And then then at the end of the lecture, I came up and spoke to them. They came up, you know, everybody just sitting around talking to the author. And then they were like, they're from Morocco. And they said the Africans in the mountains practice the same system, just like this. And he said they do it exactly like you said. Like first you have to go through initiation, you have to meditate, you have to cleanse your body and your spirit so that you get these communication of these symbols. I was like, well, dope. You know, it's like, so studying geomancy, studying the systems opens you up for a larger Pan-African conversation. That's how I view it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, in that conversation, I kind of just said to the people, I was like, oh, you all know the tree of life, don't you? I had like 20 slides on the tree of life, but I was like, I don't have to go through this. You all know about the tree of life. They were like, and then they said yes, but there's many different, when you say tree of life just like that, there's all sorts of trees of life.
Right.
You know, so they it's not guaranteed in particular that they knew the exact system of cultivation that I was speaking on.
Right.
You know, so that's my problem. I need no, it's not my problem. That's something that I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good point because you know, there like just like there are many systems of astrology. You know, there's so and you know, again, even amongst, like my circle in terms of like you know making the sidereal system like central to me in terms of like committing myself to learning it and practicing it. Um, I say the same thing that I say about raw food diet. You know, I say I don't necessarily eat the best diet, but I know that I eat the best diet for me.
wait, you're saying you don't eat the best diet? Are you kidding me, brother? What in the world? What kind of
No,
statement?
because again, what the best could be, you know, you're trying to define best.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, I mean, we all have different experience. We're all here to experience different things, and just because you know, like best shouldn't be defined as like say most nutritious, most bioavailable, most likely to allow you to live a longer life. That's not necessarily the best. Yeah, I can definitely make a case that it is, but I'm just saying it that to say that you know, I mean, we're here. This is a ride. This whole physical form, this whole journey that we call life is it's just a ride, a movie. Especially this year, if any other year. Um,
Right.
yes, it's been serious, it's been frustrating on a lot of levels for me personally. And I've expressed those frustrations and you know, I've tried to engage people and, you know, make them aware of at least my viewpoints because, you know, I can see how, you know, I'm big on, you know, freedom and you know, I definitely saw threats to that. And, you know, having young children, you know, it you know, that can really strike a nerve at you. And, but at the same time, you know, it's all you know, you know, one thing I always say is that it's written.
Mm.
Just like the young Indian boy who you mentioned predicted all of this, right? It's written. Everything that's happened, everything that has happened, everything that will happen is written. Uh,
Brother Kepra, I want to interject. There's a sister in the comments, Oshun. She's a good sister, brother. This is one I was telling you about.
oh, okay, okay,
So
okay.
Oshun,
So let me ask you a question about this. Like we can only see the comments from YouTube. Uh,
I'm looking
not
at Facebook, right? I'm on YouTube right now.
no, I'm talking about in my screen here. Because I can't. I mean, I've only seen. I mean, I'm assuming that you know, because I know it's streaming on Facebook.
Yeah, maybe it could be that only people on YouTube are responding at the moment.
Okay, all right,
So
that's what's.
you could what you could do is like, yo, if you're listening to this on Facebook and anywhere else, can you please press a 1 so we can see what platforms this is streaming on?
Well, it says it has a YouTube next to the people's picture
Right.
or you
Oh,
know,
but I was gonna say,
because the thing is like let's say if we wanted to engage with you know some people that are watching, like if we wanted to do like a quick reading or whatever, you know, given that like we're, you know, really talking about astrology right now, um, you know, I just want to know where the people are how, that have access to, you know, because I know that we can actually post, show some of these comments.
okay. Well, I
Yeah,
know right now I know right now there's the
you see that? Okay,
yeah,
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 all right, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, this is a good sister right here. She's a good sister.
Okay, cool, cool. So yeah, we can. I think eventually, at some point, we can begin to do that. Start looking at people's charts and just really get into it. We can all learn. I'm still very much a student. Any astrologer practicing astrology, it's just like anything. You just add layers of layers.
Okay, because I was about to say, bro, I'm a student. Let's just say I'm reading chapter. I'm reading the introduction basically. So, I actually I discovered that the sound wasn't there because I was like, he said Aquarius, Capricorn, Saturn. Actually, no, I said Capricorn and Sagittarius are Saturn. And then I started going back. I was like, nah, that messed up Scorpio. Scorpio doesn't go in Mars. I know Scorpio's not Taurus. It's like, let me go back and let me go listen to it again. That's how I discovered it. But I was saying that to say that's a student.
Last week.
Yeah, that's a student right there. Me trying to remember what you said. I mean, I got it straight now. It's Aquarius,
got it.
Aquarius, Capricorn,
Duality.
Pisces, yeah. Pisces, Sagittarius,
Pisces,
Aries, Scorpio. Taurus, Libra.
So why don't you bless us? I mean, because people listening, they may not have been tuning in last week. What are you discussing? Just so.
Oh,
I'll pick it up if need be, because I mean it's deep. Like again, this is one of the principal differences of sidereal astrology versus Western astrology. Western astrology, we have, because they follow, like basically in sidereal astrology, we don't recognize Neptune, Uranus, or Uranus, and Pluto.
Right.
They don't have a day of the week. That's one. All the other planets have a day of the week. We know the week is a natural rhythm. And Pluto, Uranus, not that they don't exist, not that they don't have an influence, but they don't have a really significant influence compared to the 7 planets, plus the 2 shadow planets, which we can discuss. But those 7 planets are like this. That's the principal energy that we really need to focus on. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and share, like basically, because my what I say is like basically the planet itself as a living entity is neither male or female. It's more of an androgynous energy, but it has a male sign and a female sign.
Why you had to go there, bro? I was just trying. Come on, bro. Like, wait a second.
I'm adding a layer. We adding layers.
Right, and let me add a notebook. Hold on. Nah, you got me on that. Like, I'm not even up front. Like,
so why don't we start with Saturn and then move our way to the sun and the moon?
All right.
Because, we're in this conjunction right now, because right after Saturn it is Jupiter, like on our like symmetry, our symmetry chart, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. So I mean, what I was, that simple thing I was memorizing, but I should have done more study. I'm gonna be honest. That simple, that what I was just memorizing was the order. I was just talking about order. I didn't even remember the male female aspect.
But the order can start with Saturn.
Right, and that, I like that, because it like loops. It starts with Saturn,
right,
and then it ends with the sun and the moon.
Right, exactly. Or it really starts with the sun and the moon, because that's the king and queen.
Yeah, okay. But the question then becomes, the question is this. Is there another type of pattern where it's like everybody on the female side is female, like leading from the moon, and everybody on the sun side is male, or is it like flipped some sort of way?
It's male, female, male, female. So listen, let me run through it.
Wait.
Oh,
you gave me a key. It's male, female, male, female.
Right.
All right. So it's starting. Wait, hold up. So if it's starting, All right, you gotta work. Hold up. Okay, wait. All right, Leo. This is crazy. Leo, Cancer, right?
All right, so Leo, Cancer.
So that's male. That's female. So
Right.
that means that Virgo is female.
You got the king and queen in the middle. So we know that the sun, his sign is Leo. It doesn't rule another sign. It only rules Leo, and we know Leo to be very self-centered, very sunlight, very, the stage is theirs, and they want to shine bright wherever they may be, and, and then in the same can be set up for Cancer, but it's so Leo and Cancer are like, two sides of the same coin. Where Leo is like, again, the male aspect of that again, that royalness. Where Cancer is Leo but feminine.
Right.
So Leo is Cancer, the masculine version of Cancer, and Leo, and they happen to be ruled by our two biggest stars, Sun and Moon. So they right next to each other. So 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 the sun doesn't rule another sign that is feminine, and the moon will rule another sign that is masculine. So it's like the sun and moon have this royal relationship with each
Wait,
other.
say that again. Say that. You said. I got you.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what sits on the sides of both?
I got that down. I got that. That's not a problem right there, brother.
All right, so let's go through it. Let's go all the way out.
So my question is then, does that make Virgo feminine?
Yes. Yes.
Virgo's feminine and Gemini would be masculine.
Right. Now, again, the feminine signs are the earth and the water signs,
Okay.
and the masculine signs are the air and the fire signs.
Come on, guy. What the? All right, wait. Okay. Whatever. Just give me a moment on that one.
Okay.
Right, so we got the sun over here. We got the moon over here. Then this is Mercury right here.
Yeah. So Mercury is the prince. The prince sits next to the king and the queen. Virgo on the side of Leo, and we have Gemini on the other side of Cancer. And Gemini being the masculine aspect of Mercury, Virgo being the feminine aspect of Mercury.
Right.
And it keeps going out.
Right. So the next would be, all right. So from the Leo side, we got Virgo. So after that, we got Libra.
Right. So what planet? What planet?
We would have Venus.
Venus. Right. So Venus has
Libra would be male.
Right. The Libra energy is the masculine aspect of Venus.
And so that means Taurus is female.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Right. And then what's the next planet?
All right. The next planet is going to be Mars.
Mars. Yes.
Right. And so we got Aries on this side.
Right.
And then we got Scorpio over here.
Right. Right. So
Scorpio being male, Aries being female.
I mean, to pull it back to people who follow the Western system, they'll associate Scorpio with Pluto. And we know Scorpio is to be aggressive, but also in a feminine way. Because that water energy.
Yep.
But it's like burning hot water. That Scorpio energy, but it's very Mars.
So also, question: is
Yeah.
it fire, air, earth, and water? Does it go like that? Like Cancer's fire, Gemini's air, Taurus is earth, Scorpio is water?
Yes, they're multiple. Right. It goes that way too.
Boom, answers your question, brother.
So Mars, but I wanted to just throw that in because Mars, if you don't study, if you're not familiar with the sidereal system, you would think Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. When it's Mars, it's very Mars.
Got you. All right. So moving back, we got Pisces. Pisces, and then Sag.
Right. So who's again Pisces being what planet? You mentioned the planet.
Jupiter.
Right. So again, Pisces is another one. Pisces, I think, is affiliated with Neptune. Uh, and again, you know, Neptune could be a co-ruler, just like Pluto can be a co-ruler of Scorpio, but Pisces is definitely Jupiter.
Okay.
Pisces is the most, you know, because Jupiter is knowledge and higher wisdom.
It's
And
also growth and expansion too, right?
yes. Jupiter's all about that. But when we think about the Pisces aspect, Pisces is the most spiritual, can be the most spiritual of the 12 signs. And Jupiter is about spirituality, ultimately. You know, Sagittarius being the masculine aspect of Jupiter. So Jupiter, Sagittarian, Jupiter Sagittarian energy can be more about like, you know, more religious, more about the practice of religion per se. Piscean energy is more about spirituality.
So Jupiter is more. I mean, the Sagittarius part of it. It can be more about philosophy and a structuring of thought and structuring of thought and systems in order to in order to elicit culture.
Right. Culture, that's a good word. Yes. Because, you know, we see these things develop, you know, within culture as like organized religion.
Okay.
And then Piscean energy is
Oh, Sag. The sister Osun says she's a Sag.
okay, but in what system? See, that's
Oh yeah, yeah. You about to be blown. You're not a Sag anymore.
see that this is why education got to happen slow. We got to go. We got to move at a snail turtle like pace.
All right.
You know, because it's the turtle that wins the race. So we don't want to go too fast. They're Piscean, sidereal Pisces, very Jupiter. But we're seeing the pattern here.
Yep.
We had the king and the queen, sun, moon, and then Mercury sign, then Venus, then Mars, right?
Yep.
And then
Jupiter.
Jupiter, right? And now it brings us to our final graha, which its signs are next to each other.
Yep. Saturn.
Saturn, Capricorn, and Aquarius. Capricorn being the feminine.
You
And
said Capricorn is feminine?
yeah, it's feminine.
Wait. So I messed up then somewhere. So wait, Gemini is male,
Yes,
Taurus is female.
yes.
Oh, that's where I made the mistake. I see. Okay, I got it. I see where I made the mistake. I should have put, but okay. Then Scorpio is male.
Female.
Scorpio is female. So
Yeah,
Aries is
all the water signs are female. All the earth signs are female. And the air and the fire signs are male. They're masculine. You know, because we have
Scorpio is female, and then Aries is female as well.
Aries is definitely is Aries is a fire sign. It's the first sign. It's masculine. It's the masculine aspect of Mars.
So I made a mistake.
All right. Well, you know, we got it. But you know, let's finish up with Saturn. Saturn, Capricorn, and Aquarius. So Aquarius is, I believe, associated with um, Uranus. But and again, that could be a co-ruler, but Aquarius is very much ruled by Saturn. Very much ruled by Saturn. It is the masculine aspect of Saturn. and and again, this system is not. I mean, there's no coincidence in how we see that pattern. It's a beautiful pattern, and it shows us that, you know. I mean, it just tells us so much, not just about, like, again, the week. The 7 days in a week. And each day having a planetary ruler, and that tells us so much about the rhythm of life. When we start to really look at, we get into looking at our chart, we get in, really understanding the energy. Like when we start to look at our chart and see what may be strong, what may be weak. Then we go through periods, and that's when we can start using the predictive aspects of this system. And, it's nice to get into the personality aspects, but we really want to get into, like, well, I mean, we could delve, that's those things are cute.
Yeah, but I don't know if that'll serve us though, because what I think everyone here has had their personality read, by, that's Western astrology in general. Now it is good though. There's this one app called The Pattern. That joint is nice as far as predictive, as far as breaking down personalities and kind of what you're dealing with. But honestly, brother, I'm interested in knowing how that little boy in India predicted COVID.
Well,
I'm trying to figure this joint out. He predicted it to a T almost. He said China's gonna be involved, America's gonna go on lockdown. It was a madness. Oh, speaking of which, one of the sisters I was working with, she wanted to make a trip to India, right? She wanted to go she was trying to plan it. So she sat down with me with my Oracle system, and we sat down. We were trying to plan a trip for her. She was like, "Okay, what's the energy look like if I go in June?" And this was back in December when I did the reading for her. I was like, "Oh man," it came up basically like it's about to be a sickness, disease, war. I was like, you may not want to do it in June. This is a bad reading all the way around. It's like this is something I didn't know what it was. I just said it's not looking good. Then she said, "What about March?" And I was like, this ain't looking good either, right? And then of course COVID hit, and the sister came by when I came back into town in June. She was like, "Oh my God, I keep thinking about the reading. You saved me. I'd have been stuck in India." So I'm just thinking of the predictive qualities of these different systems.
yeah, absolutely, and I mean, astrology. I find it more useful to use the oracles of that nature. When you're asking like a kind of a cut and dry question like that, like, should I go on this trip, or should I, take this job, or something more like, okay, that has a, kind of a definitive time, and that could be pretty much a yes no question and answer. So where with astrology, it's really more of kind of more of a definite map, of your life, because you're looking at everything that happens around you, from your health, from probably how you eat, your friends and family, your career, definitely your marriage and relationships, your children, all of these things. While you can still obviously use different oracles to address, issues that come up around those things, but with astrology, you get more of a complete map that I guess you would use in a different way. But I do know people who will, use astrology like for specific questions that maybe have to do with a trip per se,
Right.
or making a sort of a definitive decision, like whatever it could be. You know, so
You
so
know, in the book it states that that this brother, the author, I guess, used astrology to determine when to start the class.
right. So the book that my brother is referring to, I believe it's called The Art and Practice. Let's see what it is. The Art and Practice of ancient Hindu astrology by James Barnhart. You know, it's a book that I guess we're currently reading together. If you go to, on YouTube, he's definitely one of the foremost authorities on ancient Sidereal or ancient Vedic or ancient Hindu, use all those terms interchangeably, astrology. And, you could just Google James Barnhart and a lot of videos will come up. And he has a very practical style. I've listened to a lot of his videos, and I'm now finishing up his book. And his book is even very practical. You know, a lot of astrology books, whether they're, sidereal, Western, it's kind of more like, oh, okay, these are the characteristics of this house, of this
It's
planet.
like a textbook.
Right. It's very textbookish.
Yeah, this one was more like listening to. He recorded his conversation with a student.
Right. You're sitting in on the sessions
Oh,
and a student.
was he trying to mimic Plato and Socrates?
Well, I think what,
Yeah, that's what I.
but the thing is like, it really brings up the fact that in the East, whether you're dealing in India or in Africa, again, a lot of our brothers and sisters over there are very, it's just a different culture that's more sensitive and more in tune with spirituality. Um, so, so here, we've been sort of conditioned to think more in a linear fashion, more analytical. So it's almost like concepts have to be introduced to us in that way, um, in order for us to really fully grasp it. And it was a way. I mean, who would have thought? I thought, actually the way the book is written or recorded is actually genius because you know, like most traditions, they're oral traditions. And the book is written like, okay, for the Western mind to really sit in on the oral tradition. Just like even what I do, shout out to my main mentor and teacher, Dr. Reese Latham. I mean, it was one thing for me to read books and to get in the kitchen and start eating raw and doing this, but it was a whole other thing once we really moved up, face to face, and I actually was able to sit and be in the presence of someone who had already been where I had been maybe almost 2 decades before me.
Mm.
So we can't escape that. Um, there's always a power in reading books and doing things in the way that we do them. But if you're really serious about, you know, going into whether it's, art, spirituality, whatever it may be, being an apprentice is to be valued. It shouldn't be taken lightly. And in our culture, it's so ego driven. We want the certification and the stamp. Like, we have this microwave,
Yeah,
instant gratification. Everything instant, everything right.
instant education now.
I practice. One thing that really taught me the value in that was when I used to practice capoeira Angola, and shout out to the whole Fika family. Practicing capoeira Angola, man. I mean, and especially being born here, you don't know Portuguese, Brazilian culture, like you're not gonna become a master. mastery in like, after a year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years.
Nah.
Like you gotta be committed beyond committed. And it really, I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that because I'm like, you really, if anything that, any journey that you're doing and you're making these things like part of your journey. So, for me, astrology is definitely something, obviously the raw food, the, just being serving food and fresh juice and teaching and, being an educator, the astrology piece, which we're getting into. I mean, I guess what I'm doing is I guess I'm bringing all of these things together, and maybe creating my, uh, what would be, well, maybe not mine, but just bringing different elements of what I find to be nature, food being one aspect, obviously, but then understanding ourselves in the past, by study of our planetary star system, and then we can really, it just continue to evolve and grow, but understanding that the physicality, through proper diet and nutrition,
Right.
really allow us to help us to elevate spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Really just being a true yogi, just a committed yogi, and the same with the yoga practice too, yoga boot practice. So all of these things are just, what I've committed my life to, the practice of yoga. And, I'm glad I brought that up because I usually go on break, between the fall equinox and the winter solstice, which is what we're in now. So I put my body through an extended rest, through these last 3 months, and I'm itching to get back into my yoga practice. So it's something I've practiced for years. I've which is why I became such a strong believer in the rhythm of life, and off and on periods of like, and using these planetary shifts as guides and as points where we start something, we stop something, we fast, like, so, next book I'm really gonna, hopefully I'm able to really document these periods, these points, these rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think once we develop these rhythms, we can really become so much more efficient. All about efficiency.
What do you practice a particular style, or is it just several different moves that you've compiled together, kind of like a vinyasa?
Yeah, I would say yes to both. I definitely practice more of a static hatha style. Um, I did Bikram for a lot of years. I like the Bikram sequence. That really works with me, the body per se. And I mean, I've done all like lots of different traditions, but the Bikram sequence was good for me. Being an athlete, having like stiff knees and playing a lot of basketball, and um, that sequence really helped me to get my knees. My knees are actually, as much as I ran and jumped and did all of these exercises to try to strengthen my legs, my knees were actually very weak,
Yep.
and that's what yoga really exposes,
Yep.
that joint that joint strength. And doing capoeira for about 5 years. Um, that was like my beginning, in terms of really understanding like my body, and coming off of playing sports for a number of years growing up, but then like getting into the more holistic, healing practices, especially the yoga. So, and then I practice what I guess some people call earth yoga, year round. So my practice is, because I'm a big believer in, not believer, but I'm a big advocate, that's a better word, of grounding or earthing, touching the earth's surface with our bare skin year round.
Mm-hmm.
So, here in Washington, D.C., obviously we're in wintertime, it gets cold, and the ground is cold. The ground is always cold, even in the summertime,
You know,
which has a healing effect. But to do, I don't like practicing in yoga studios or even with yoga mats. I'll let the ground and the grass be my yoga mat, and at least practice is usually about an hour, and I'll get that grounding, that 60 minutes of touching the earth, and it's wonderful, it's beautiful. I've come to appreciate. Well, obviously, I would love to, relocate to the tropics. But living here, I appreciate the seasons. Especially
mhm.
being outside and connecting with the earth, skin on skin. That electron health is everything. So whether you practice qigong, or some other form of like a meditative breathing, or whether it's something more like yoga where stretching and the sauna is involved, or even like something like dance, like capoeira or martial art, like being barefooted or being on the earth is everything. It's
You know,
everything.
I wanted to chime in just a little bit. I do sweat lodges with two different communities out here, right? And in each of the lodges, the sweat lodge is like intensely hot. It's like a heat, a searing heat when you're inside the lodge, right? But one of the things that they always tell you is if it's too hot up here, it's always cold on the ground. The ground is always cold.
Right,
So yeah,
right,
that when you said that, that's what made me think about it.
right, right. And we know how cooling, we know how healing cool energy can be.
Right.
So when we tap into touching the earth and connecting with the earth, that in and of itself is, it's everything. We're, especially in these days, in these times, when we talk about, just to really delve quickly into, we all know what's happening. Everything that's happening has to do with electricity. Everything. When we get sick, it's electrical impulses. When we're healthy, it's electric. It's all electricity. Um, so looking at that, understanding that, even study it. It's all electrical. Even this, right now, it's not just what we plugging in. It's like we are electrical creatures. So when we're eating healthy food has electric or negative electric charges. Those are negative electric charges, like when you say electrolytes. Electrolytes have negative charges. Those negative charges become healers because inflammation, which is pretty much part of most disease, inflammation is positively charged. So
Right.
what do negative charges do? They neutralize the positive charges. All EMF, the Wi-Fi that I have in this room, the Wi-Fi in your room, these cell phones, because their cell phone is like an antenna.
Yep.
All of these are producing positive radiation, positive toxic radiation in your body. Not to mention the five, that in and of itself. So when we think about that, and then to the fact that people are eating toxic, they're creating all of this positive charged toxic radiation in their body. and then you're gonna blame something on something, you know, like coming in contact with another person. You see how that this can begin to break down in just pure fact, pure just shenanigans.
Right.
Um,
Especially the way it's playing out.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then with the kicker, because this is what when we were touching on this earlier, when I was calling this a HOAX back in February or March, I said if there's any talk, because they weren't talking about a VAX back then. All right. And I said, well, all those hundreds of emails that people crying to me or screaming to me that I'm irresponsible, that I don't know what I'm talking about, that what you're just a raw food restaurant tour, whatever. Like, what do you know? You're not a virologist or
Yeah, that's yeah.
like, look, I study the body, okay, and from my study of the body, I have committed life to the proper way to feed the. And all of my practice, all of my life practices are geared towards that. Everything we talk about, even down to the astrology. So whether it's the astrology, the fasting, and then serving tens of thousands of customers over the years, it just puts me in a space where the experience again speaks for itself. So the VAX, right? The most dangerous aspect of the VAX is the metals. Why are they putting, dangerous mercury, dangerous aluminum? Because again,
That's what they do, brother.
going to make us more reactive to all of the things that I mentioned, the EMFs and all of the radiation, all of the dirty radiation that is present in our world.
Did
So,
you see that video of the sister that passed? Oh, we talked about that. The nurse that passed out.
yeah, definitely, yeah, oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. We can,
She had an underlying condition. Yeah, right.
we could definitely expect more of these stories to surface, more exposés of the true nature and the agenda of what they have planned. With
It's targeted towards people of color too.
most certainly.
Because what they're doing, the nurse now was white, but the first person was black. The first nurse was black, and then I think it was some HBCU head or something that took the shot today or yesterday to encourage more black people to get the shot. And then the Surgeon General or somebody was trying to encourage Kobe Bryant to be a leader and get the shot.
Right.
They're trying to influence the minds of the people, especially by going back to Kobe Bryant. So it's just, yeah, that's wild. Peace, brother. I'm gonna have to wrap it up now.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But man, this is a beautiful talk. So we should definitely connect again on Wednesday. And then I guess, would you be willing to do somebody's chart and talk?
Yeah. Definitely. So next week, I guess the same time, 8:00, 8:30.
8:00 is good. 8:30.
8:00. Every Wednesday, we're having conversations with Afro Mystic, talking about sidereal astrology and other things as you've witnessed. And so we'll do more engagement next time. We'll engage with the people commenting, and do some charts. Get into the science.
Do you know you could also let them come up too?
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't want to. Well, I wanted to wait, but there's that invite button there.
Oh, right.
You click that invite, copy the invitation, and stick it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Next week. Well, I thank y'all for tuning in and really engaging, really listening. Hope you got something out of it. Wherever you may be seeing this, I guess we could. I know definitely on YouTube. I always like to encourage people to like, share, subscribe. So yeah, if you're, and I had this running also on IG. So if you want to engage, where when we start doing church, because you won't be able to see my screen if you're on IG. You have to go to either my YouTube channel or go to my Facebook page, because I'm able to stream it on all those platforms, and you will be able to see my screen. But yeah, all right. So peace and love to you, brother.
Likewise.
We'll be back here same time next week.
Yep.
I just say happy solstice, happy New Year to everyone. I wish y'all all a very prosperous and fruitful end of 2020 and into 2021. Remember tonight, like try to get some meditation time in, really reflect, fast. If you're not on the fast right now, consider fasting at least for the next 2 or 3 days. Um, into this weekend. This is a very powerful time. We're very sensitive during this time, especially our subconscious spirits. So we want to reflect, but we want to project also into the new year. So I'll leave it there. Thank you again. I'll see you. I'll see you soon, brother.
All right, brother. Peace.
All right.
Everybody, peace and light.